All right, this is Billy D, and this is your Weekly Buzz, and I'm really excited to have a special guest tonight, Michael Murphy. I don't even remember how was that, a year ago or so?
2010, 2 years ago.
Jeez. We did the movie What in the World Are They Spraying, and you have a new movie called Why in the World Are We Spraying, and we were going to go over some stuff. Now, one of the things I want to address is a lot of times people think it's like total conspiracy theory. How do you answer that question to some people?
Yeah, well, geoengineers now are coming out to the public and selling these programs. They're actually calling for emergency geoengineering. So geoengineering is defined as the artificial modification of the Earth's climate. Geoengineers are proposing spraying 10 to 20 million tons of toxic aluminum into our skies for the stated goal of cooling the planet. Aluminum is very reflective. Since we released the first film, hundreds of people around the world have been taking rain tests, which are very good indicators of contamination in our rain. What they're finding are the primary ingredients in massive quantities in these rain samples: aluminum, barium, and strontium. These metals match a number of geoengineering patents which have been designed to spray these metals out of airplanes. They match what geoengineers deny they're spraying, but state that they originally want to do. They're actually calling for emergency geoengineering to start as early as 2013. And
which is next year.
Which is next year. And what we see in the sky on a regular basis, these long white trails that do not dissipate, they actually spread out and block the sun, is the stated goal of geoengineers. We have a new issue now called global dimming. The Earth is receiving 20% less sunlight than it did just a couple of decades ago. And again, that's a stated goal of geoengineering. This is a real science. There's been a number of congressional hearings. It goes on and on and on.
Okay, but what about guys that, it's just a regular contrail? I mean, and usually a contrail obviously means it's a condensation trail, which is going to evaporate, correct?
Right. And a contrail is short for condensation trail.
Right.
Very similar to when we breathe in cold weather. You can see your breath and it quickly dissipates. You never see a guy walking down the street in a trail 2 or 3 miles behind him.
That starts spreading out.
And spreading out and completely covering where he was.
Yeah, and I've also gotten a little flack, me being a chiropractor, talking about something as, as a conspiracy theory like chemtrails. But I mean, I'm not even addressing it as a chiropractor. I'm addressing it as, dude, I like to surf. I like to breathe oxygen. And there's days when it's perfectly clear. And then here come the trailies, as you guys call them. That's their new nickname for them. Mm-hmm. They come and they just start spraying. And it's like all of a sudden I'm in a toxic fog of just poison. It's literally what it is. Neuropoison, neurotoxins.
It is, and the tests that have been coming in from the fallout, again, are aluminum, barium, and strontium. These are the primary ingredients in geoengineering programs. Literally thousands of dots connect, and all of the consequences associated with geoengineers that geoengineers state will happen if they start these programs have occurred. They state that it will deplete the ozone. We now have a huge hole in our ozone. They state that it will disrupt weather patterns. We now have weather disruption everywhere. Another consequence is drought. If you look at the global drought monitor, most of the Earth now is in global drought. And they also state that it will disrupt the food supply of over 2 billion people, which we now have due to the summer's drought, which by what we've investigated is a direct result from geoengineering programs.
Okay, so let's break these down and we have the song Chemtrail Bong Hits, which I want you to hear.
All right.
But it's kind of like I broke it down into three, in my vision, 3 goals. One is obviously the health ramifications. Have we done studies on people to see higher aluminum, strontium, barium levels in blood?
Absolutely. People now, not only are we finding this chemtrail geoengineering footprint in rain samples, people around the world now are getting blood tests. And a group in Mojave County, Arizona, over 20 people obtained blood tests. 85% of those people had levels of barium, which were considered to be 1,000 times the elevated amount. Aluminum levels were through the roof. And this is pretty much standard. So it's showing up literally everywhere. These metals were not there 15 years ago. They've increased as much as 50,000 percentage points just in a decade, and we've seen profound changes to human health, aluminum-related illnesses.
Of course.
Alzheimer's is up over 260%.
Right. And cancer. I mean, it's all related.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, for me, it's like, it's really discouraging when people want to keep their heads in the sand on the issue and just ignore it. But all you have to do is look up, and you just have to. I mean, when I grew up, I didn't see this stuff, and it was so weird too. Is like lately over the summer, and maybe you can explain that there has been zero chemtrails, and then there are days when they are just like they're like relentless. Like they go, will you guys just give us some air to breathe? So explain why there's different days when there's zero, and people want to say it's climate or it's atmospheric conditions that are causing it. I know that's not the case. It probably has to do with the low pressure, high pressure systems, right?
Well, why in the world are they spraying? We investigated the weather control application. What we found, if you look at the primary ingredient in geoengineering programs, it's aluminum. Aluminum's a very effective conductor in our sky. So 500, 2,000 miles ahead of a storm, those are the days where you will see the trails back and forth, literally creating a thick canopy in the sky, days when we have burning eyes, irritability, headache, nausea, all of those
depression,
symptoms.
all those symptoms.
What they do, they have the ability through the HARP system and other technology to heat that canopy up. And when they heat that canopy up, it literally creates a rise in the atmosphere, which creates a low pressure system and enables these corporations to steer storms into certain regions, or in the case of this summer, out of certain regions. What we looked at, because I got calls, people said they've stopped spraying, we're not getting trails over Los Angeles, we can now go and have fun and quit our work. We started looking at satellite, and literally from the equator all the way up to Alaska, the Pacific is covered from aerosol trails. And what this is doing is creating our drought, because when the sun hits the ocean, we have normal evaporation, cloud formation. Eventually those clouds condense, they form as rain, and they fall. So by blocking the sun, they're limiting the condensation that's occurring. But the particulates, and geoengineers are very open that their programs create drought, they act as what's called cloud condensation nuclei. So when the water molecules evaporate, instead of condensing and eventually falling as rain, they actually condense on this fine metal particulate, and it drifts. So that's one of the reasons why in California, here we're seeing intense drought conditions, but then once that moisture drifts over the continental divide, it eventually has to fall as rain. I was back in the Midwest this summer, and anytime rain was in the forecast, we would watch these big, beautiful thunderheads develop, and then we'd see the planes spraying above them, literally creating a canopy over these clouds, and within a half an hour to 45 minutes, that cloud would literally fall apart, and that moisture would drift. It would not fall. Surprisingly enough, Europe is getting these intense floods. They are getting the rain that we should be getting. And there are agendas behind droughts and other conditions, which we investigated, and why in the world are they spraying? And we found that weather was actually being traded on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange.
Sure. Yeah. And we also want to bring in the Monsanto factor, too. I mean, they're basically creating seeds, GMO seeds, which are going to be aluminum resistant. Also, that will be germinative in an alkaline soil, and also drought resistant.
Absolutely, and we'll talk about that. The weather derivatives, which links kind of into Monsanto, companies will invest basically to offset the risk due to adverse weather conditions.
Sure.
So the trader who we interviewed, he gave an example. If somebody has a crop worth $5 million, but through the use of these derivatives invests for $10 million, he has an interest, a financial interest, if the crop fails. Most people believe that our weather is not controllable. We've had this technology for a very long time. Our military is open about having this technology. And essentially, not everybody involved in these derivatives is in on the weather control, but there are certain individuals who do have the playbook on what the agenda is. And without question, and we proved in Why in the World Are They Spraying, this summer was an engineered drought. So certain individuals, all commodities are driven really by the ability to predict weather. And if you have that playbook, your income is literally limitless. But what surprised us the most was the Monsanto genetically modification connection. We interviewed Barb Peterson from Farm Wars. And she informed us of a couple of things. EPA is predicting that by the year 2030, we will see a 50% increase in crop failure due to abiotic stress. What is abiotic stress? It's everything that the ChemTrail geoengineering programs create. It's the drought conditions, it's the heavy metal contamination, it's too much moisture, and then it's fungal overgrowth. And by blocking the sun, geoengineering programs proliferate that fungal growth. So,
now, is the fungal growth related to cancer at all?
I'm not sure, but you gave me some homework to do. But I would think that it would compromise our immune system because we have fungal-related illness.
Right. Well, some people theorize that a lot of cancers are fungal. So.
Oh, okay.
So that's a whole other question. Before we wrap this up, a couple quick questions. Monsanto created the genetically modified seeds, but we also discussed how these bankrupt farmers they're basically losing their land, and people are coming and buying up their land for pennies on the dollar.
Right. Well, through drought and through the floods, and especially after the Midwest, farmers have had two choices. They can either go with this new abiotic stress-resistant seed, and then they have to go back to Monsanto year after year after year. The ones that were not able to make it have been selling their land for pennies on the dollar to a company owned by George Soros. This is directly related to Agenda 21 objectives by getting people off of their land and into cities. So there are many objectives that can be that are related to weather control. Bottom line is this: if you control the weather, you can control the planet. There's no question that geoengineering programs are in part weather control. They are many different agendas, but they're definitely involved with the weather control aspect.
Cool. Thanks for Mike for being here, David. But I want you guys all out there to get a copy of Mike's DVD, Why in the World Are We Spraying? I mean, if you're a naysayer on this issue and you watch this video and you're still not on board, I don't know what to tell you. But there's pretty much significant documentation and research to back up everything that he's saying. I want you not only to watch it yourself, but I want you to share it with your people in your practices. He said it's cool if you make copies of it to give out to people, but I really feel it's important for you to support his project so he can continue his mission. Because it's not about me, it's about our kids and their kids, and I want you to really understand that the planet is never ever going to be, once you put this stuff on the planet, you're not going to get rid of it. So we need to start to step up, we need to pull our heads out of the sand, and we need to really go to bat for the future of our children and their children. Anything else you want to say? Where do they get the video from?
whyintheworldarethayspraying.com. You can see the trailer as well, but this is the future of our children, and the planet is literally being destroyed from top to bottom.
Right.
There has been no greater...
And the food supply and people's health. I mean, there's no question.
No question. And short of nuclear fallout, we have had no greater threat to the planet. So we really need to pull together, A, get educated, and then be educators by spreading this message.
All right. Rock and roll. See you next week.